Welcome to stage 3 of the Zwift games, Cobbled Crown. I'm in the 270 to 390 category today, 92 kilogram rider, and we've got a field of about 136. I changed up my race day. I'm racing start of the week now in the hopes I can get some of this footage up online so that somebody can learn from the race recon. If stage 2 was all about being race day ready, stage 3, at least for me today, is the exact opposite. I'm due to be humbled and I'm in need of a bit of a spanking. So today's the perfect day for it. I have not reconned this route at all. I did do the Richmond roller coaster on the TDZ a couple weeks back, so I'm somewhat familiar with it, at least the climbs. I'm coming off a 40K tempo ride yesterday. I just finished my lift session. The legs aren't feeling it. My mind's not into it. So if the last race I had absolutely no excuses and I was totally prepared, today I have every single excuse and am completely unprepared for what's about to come. It's a good test because this is more indicative of what my performance is like on a day-to-day basis. And like I said, I'm not expecting too much, but the hope is just to keep up today. Keep up, try to stay with the lead group at least as long as I can. 164 rider field, you know that there'll be some gunners in this group. So you just got to hope for the best. Top 20 would probably be good. Obviously shooting for top 10, want to win. It's probably unlikely. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. No warm-up either, but that's pretty typical for me. And it's right about in and around here where my woeful unpreparedness for this particular race starts to show, not only in performance but also in my IT prowess when it comes to all the various different things I had to keep in mind just to get this thing recorded. And naturally, my brand new USB microphone has run out of batteries and I'm no longer getting any audio pickup. I suppose at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because this was indeed a hot race, and I don't think I would have been able to speak anyway. That said, it started off it didn't start off nearly as spicy as I thought it would. We're running about 230 watts. And I would have anticipated that it would have been much higher. I thought we would have been out the gate at like a 280 average and just hoofing. As it turns out, and as you're about to see right on in and around here, that's because everybody's just sort of holding back. We are about to hit the first of these two lumpy climbs, and that's when people literally start dropping the hammer. The rider field is now 200 strong at the sound of the horn, and honestly, for the first little bit, I have trouble with this because it just looks like a jumbled mass. I really don't know what's going on. I don't really know where my place is. So the goal is to just try to stay in the bunch. And as you can see, it's starting to pick up now. So we're entering this climb, and all of a sudden the watts go from like 200 well north of 3, and it just gets worse and worse as we start to hit the meat of this first climb on 23rd Street. I've gone from in and around the 20 spot in the pack all the way back down to 60. Agreed, we have a lot of riders, but when you're a heavier guy like me and hitting the hard parts of a climb, you really, really want to be closer to the front, because eventually you're going to start getting overtaken, and you can see people popping the feathers now. You're going to start to get overtaken, and if you're not careful, you're going to get dropped. So naturally, that was exactly what was on my mind here, and I stood up on the pedals and really just started burning matches that I did not want to waste. I don't stand all that much. I rely on my leg strength to try to propel me over some of these inclines, but I knew if I wanted to keep up with the lead group, there was no option here. I was going to have to get up and just try to sustain the power output, which is now, in the 400s, until we hit the top of the hill. And then, I sit back down and try to keep it north of 300 from the seat, knowing full well that the pack's going to string out here, and if we're not careful, the lead group may want to try to snap that elastic and split the pack. Easier said than done, though, because again, like, this runs into a downhill and then immediately into the second climb. I'm still feeling pretty good at this point, although it did hurt that first climb. Now this next one isn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be, but as you can see, we're already dropped by the lead group, and at this point I'm actually really concerned that we may not be able to catch back on, because again, we're hitting this giant wall here at the KOM. 14% grade. It's punishing. Thankfully, the guys up in the lead group there, they were feeling it too, obviously, and we were able to, well, sort of kind of pull back in with them. Now, as we get over this hump here, though, exactly what I was worried about once again, the same thing happens. They sort of start to pull away. And I think at this point I've probably figured out that my mic's not working, and I'm feeling it pretty hard. My heart rate's like 155. We're only 5 minutes and 3K into this thing, and I'm pushing a 309 average. That's well north of my threshold, and I just don't think I'm going to be able to maintain this or keep this up for much longer. If anything of what I said in the intro is true, like, these first races at the start of the week, when the new course competitions become available, yeah, they draw in a lot of riders and a lot of strong riders, and the pace is much, much faster. And again, as you can see, like, I'm already losing ground to the lead group. Even on this downhill, I'm doing what I can and pushing it pretty good. But we are solid, I think at this point, like, probably 5 to 10 seconds behind the leaders. And a small chase group forms around me, which was good because some of these guys are pretty strong riders, and I was obviously not in a condition to try and lead this group in the hopes of catching up with the guys up front. So thankfully, I was able to hold some wheels here. And at this point, I think my expectation was, okay, like, we're the chase group now, 40 spots down the board. Do I get angry and rage quit for the first time ever, or do I just tough it out, shoot for the kit and whatever I can place with these guys sort of leading the way? Yeah, it was. I'm glad I hung in. Let's just put it that way, because I don't think what we expected was the lead group to ease off as much as they did. I mean, we're we're humming along. It says we're humming at 280, 290 watts here, at least for me. Um, didn't really feel like it, and I'm not sitting in the draft right now. I would say the numbers were closer to 250, 240. Like we're not booting it to try to catch up, even though we do eventually end up catching back onto the lead group, which makes me think that those guys were biding their time and really gathering everything they could in terms of recovery for what's to come. I said at the start that this route starts with, two punchy climbs and ends with two punchy climbs. That's true, but what I didn't realize was that right in the middle, or right here, um, we also have to follow that up with, I think it's the Libby Hill KOM, whatever it's called. I was looking at that on the mini map at this point, and I was just dreading it. Those first two punches took a ton out of me. I'm still running anyway at a 292 watt average, and we're not even 10 minutes into this thing. 10 minutes, 6K, 290 average. I mean, again, it might as well be an FTP test at this point. So, okay, again, my chase group's just sort of humming along here, and I start sort of tracking the mini map a little bit more, and you can tell that we are getting ready to swallow these guys up. Now, agreed, running at that pace, 250, 260, maybe a little bit less at like 225, 235 in the draft. Like, you are burning more energy than the guys up front, but not a significant amount more. This felt more like a standard group ride. So I did almost find it a little strange that we ended up catching with these guys. I just saw them peek over and then make the turn there, and as soon as I saw that, I knew we were going to catch them. If we could maintain speed through this climb, once we hit the plateau, the odds were pretty good that we'd be able to catch back on. So I just had to really keep up with these guys as best as humanly possible. Easier said than done, because now we hit the climb, and it's just brutal. Like it just felt like there was no respite, and it was gonna go on forever. I could feel it in my legs. I knew I was burning matchsticks I was gonna need later on. Uh, it really did. It was punishing and torturous because it felt like I was just being set up for future failure. But again, I'm a pretty stubborn guy, and I hung in there as much as I could. And the fact that we were gaining on the lead group said, okay, we can still make a race out of this after all. Odds are pretty good. I would imagine there were some really strong riders up there that were kind of sandbagging and just almost pacing this climb, knowing full well that they were going to be doing, 3 more towards the end, and they were going to need all the power that they could possibly muster for the finish. Meanwhile, my chase group, even though we've sort of re-enveloped with the lead group, we've all still spent a certain amount more energy than the guys up front, who got a half decent recovery on that little flat between the earlier climbs and this one. It gets real vicious right in and around here, where I know that the top is close. I'm struggling to maintain the 360 that I'm doing, and it just felt like swimming in sand. Uh, it was just, it really was tough. The legs are burning. I can't speak. I'm wobbling all over the place, and again, just doing my absolute best not to give up here. And thankfully, I don't. We hold to it, and we hold to it pretty well. Now, as I get over the climb, I also know I'm still gonna end up having to lay down some sustained power, likely power well in excess of my threshold, no different than what we're running at now. Um, I started to get a little bit worried here because while I am holding draft with the guys up front, like it just felt like we were ripe to get dropped once again. If they put in a dig here, I don't think I had anything left for it. I think I would have had to just let them go because I don't think I would have been able to hold it. You can see my watts now are 294 from 230. Maybe they are trying to put in a surge. I'm not sure. Either way, I'm just barely hanging on by a thread, praying that the pace does slow up a little bit so I can gather myself for a bit of recovery. And it looks like right about here is probably when that happens. Yeah, we're able to kind of settle in on this flat, and away we go. All right, and we're going to just zoom through the flat section here because really there's not much to tell. It's, about a third of the entire race. And all any of us are really doing here, I think, is just, settling into a nice, easy pace. It's like in the low 200 watts. And for me, that's just cruising. And we're all just recovering because, again, we got to do everything that we just did in reverse one more time. That third climb just took everything I had, and I knew I really didn't have a whole lot left to afford to these climbs, and I also knew that climbing probably being one of my weakest areas, I highly doubted I was going to be able to keep up with these guys, even coming into this one here. I still hit it pretty hard at the bottom, trying to carry my momentum through. Not as hard as probably I should have, but again, I'm working. I'm not working with a whole lot here. I got a very limited amount to give here, and it's reflected in my wattage. I don't know if I can. Oh, I do just briefly get it over 400 watts, which is necessary with the group of riders I'm with. They're all seemingly finding that next gear that I definitely don't have. But at this point, I've burnt every matchstick that I got, and I'm now burning the box and the waterproof plastic bag that the box comes in. I I really am at the end of my the top end of my limit here. Heart rate's 153. That's getting pretty close to what seems to be my max at about 160, 165. And it's usually here where basic arithmetic starts to turn into, starts to seem like biochemistry. So I'm not even really thinking straight anymore. I'm just mashing pedals, standing up, trying my damnedest just to keep up with all of these guys. Because, again, if I do make it to the top and they're within reach, then, they're probably going to drop me in earnest on the next one. So we push hard. And then we hit the flat, and again, I sit on the power as much as I can, knowing that we're going into that downhill. That should help a bit, but realistically, I'm now on borrowed time. You can see the lead group there is sort of getting a bit of a lead. Now, they're not going to be able to sustain it, but it shows the difference in stamina, them versus me in this case. I just don't have enough. Anyway, move along. And eventually we're going to come to this next little hump. I actually I thought this next little climb was going to be harder than it was, but it's actually a lot shorter. It's very sharp and punchy, but it's a lot shorter than I thought it was. So when I hit this, I hit it as hard as I possibly can with whatever I got left. And that actually helps. It really just propels me to the front of the pack. And again, I think I get up here. Yeah, I get up again. And this is when I start, like, I'm just manhandling the bike at this point, just trying my damnedest to put down whatever I've got left. And still you see, like, there's Ride Bold. He's just spinning right past me, and the rest of the group is catching up to me as we get to the crest of the hill. And we've still, again, got to do this a third time towards the finish. I'm just done. 155 on the heart rate. 158. Yeah, a little bit of recovery there. And now we get to the final climb. I know. I already know what's going to happen. The exact same thing. And this time I may just get totally dropped. So in an effort to maintain a little bit of vanity, I hop out to the front here and spend a little time sitting in, like, second and third, right behind first. And I pop my feather early too. This was not a tactical choice. This was me saying, okay, I got nothing left. If I want to place anywhere, anywhere decent with this group of riders, I got to pop the feather now and hope that we bleed out some of this pack and we just blow them up, because I'm blowing up myself. Like I am. I'm done. I know that. My legs are giving out. It's only a matter of time before the wattage power drops below 300 and I can't get it above that. And it's pretty much right here. There's just nothing left. I'm finished, and I know it. And that's when people start passing. Oh, okay, well, it is what it is. I knew it was coming. I knew I wasn't going to be able to sustain it, and that was fine. It's a win just being able to catch back on with the lead group, keep up with the lead group, and even lead it for the split second that I led it. Like, pretty happy with this performance in a 200 rider field at this kind of a pace. It was it felt like one of my first Zwift races, where it just pushed me to the absolute limit. And when it was all said and done, I just had absolutely nothing left. I think I'm waiting on a pass from one more rider here before essentially the final space is determined. You can tell, like, some of these guys are hitting 4+ watts per kilogram. Me, I'm not. I'm still sitting at like 3 or just under. But I mean, you also gotta. I'm also pretty proud of the fact that we ended up dropping probably half the group we were with, and they're a solid 10 seconds behind. So that feather I popped at the bottom of the hill did actually save me here, in that half of our group actually blew up. They just couldn't take it at the start of the climb. Understandably so. I was right there too. If I didn't have that feather, my finishing spot would have been closer to like 30th probably. I try to dig as much as I can here in the hopes that maybe I can overtake 16th, but I honestly didn't. I didn't have enough energy to actually stand up on the bike at this point. I'm just turning the pedals in the futile hopes of overtaking, and I don't. I coast across the line, 16th place, essentially the last of the lead group, after we dropped half of our group at the start of this final climb, and that, as they say, is that. And by the numbers, once again, I can't really complain. No power bests, but I did hold 3.0 for 20 minutes, which is pretty cool. Again, though, I mean, the 270 watts of output that I got here at 2.9 watts per kilogram, that's indicative of the fact that Because nobody else has it, that means I got dropped at some point in this race and had to catch up, whereas the others did not. Even at the, quarter, halfway mark of the last climb, in, say, second place for the blink of an eye, I still end up 23 seconds behind the leader. Just happy to hang with the competition. I see Rye Bold made a good run at the podium too in second place, less than a second behind the eventual winner. That's pretty cool to see. Check his videos out when you get a chance. He's entertaining, to say the least, and definitely a stronger rider. So I'm happy to hang with this group. Anyway, till the next time, this is me, Crankin' Watts. See you on the next one.